The former governor of Virginia is under fire for accepting tens of thousands of dollars in gifts from a wealthy donor. Former Governor Robert McDonnell and his wife Maureen were charged with illegally accepting gifts from businessman Johnny Williams. Williams owns a nutritional supplement company named Star Scientific. The gifts include fancy vacations, Louis Vuitton accessories, Oscar de la Renta dresses, Rolex watches, and loans. In total, it all adds up to at least $165,000. Federal authorities allege that in return, the company got favorable treatment from the state government. McDonnell is denying the charges and is accusing the feds of going too far.
The United States Supreme Court has already rejected this radical idea, and for good reason. Because if it were applied as the law of the land, then nearly every elected official, from President Obama on down, would have to be charged for providing tangible benefits to donors.
Earlier, I spoke with Craig Holman, a government affairs lobbyist for Public Citizen. For more on this case, I first asked him if McDonnell was being singled out or if this was the way politics works.
This is how Virginia politics works. Quite frankly, Virginia's had very lax ethics standards. They've had no limits on gifts that lobbyists or other special interests can provide to public officials, including the governor. And when you don't have limits and you don't have adequate disclosure, this is the type of scandal that happens. This began as an ethics scandal last March, and as you've noted, it's now turned into a full-blown 14-count criminal charge. The McDonnells, both, by the way, Bob McDonnell and his wife, have been charged with essentially bribery, and they are going to be arraigned in court on Friday.
Right. Yeah, she's been charged as well, and she clearly, from that long list we read off there, benefited in one way or another, got some fancy things there. Governor McDonnell, though, he says that nearly every elected official would be charged for getting benefits from donors. Does he have a point there?
No, you see, that's part of the attitude when you come from a state that doesn't have proper ethics restrictions. Public officials like Bob McDonnell and his wife actually come to believe that they are entitled to these types of gifts. They believe that that's just how business is done, and it really isn't. And they're about to find out that it is unacceptable. I want to point out, too, by the way, that Governor Bob McDonnell is the very first governor of Virginia to actually face criminal charges. He and his wife just stepped over the line to the point where it's federal officials and not state officials, I want to point out also, who are prosecuting this case. In Virginia, you know, gift giving, wining and dining, vacations, golf clubs, all of that stuff has been considered almost appropriate behavior. But when it comes to federal anti-bribery laws, they have crossed the line.
Now, for the first time now, we have a majority of members in Congress that are millionaires. Of course, we live in this post-Citizens United time where politics and money is becoming more murky. The line there is not as clear as it once was. So what do you think? Is this kind of just the way that it is now, and is it becoming more so this way?
Well, money is becoming more and more important in politics and to elected officials. And as that happens, we're going to see more of these types of scandals. Unfortunately, especially the Citizens United decision, has really opened a huge can of worms when it comes to special interest money flowing to elected officials. The more, as we saw in Virginia, the looser the rules are, the more the money, the more the gifts that flow to public officials, the more they're going to start believing that they are entitled to these types of privileges, and the more scandals we're going to see.
I know you're saying that this was coming due to the lax laws in Virginia. How do you expect this case to impact ethics laws in the state?
Virginia is debating for the first time some ethics restrictions for public officials, and I suspect that bill is going to pass. However, it really is an inadequate ethics bill that Virginia is considering. They're debating legislation to impose a $250 gift limit for public officials and have disclosure of any of those gifts. However, they exempt meals, they exempt entertainment, they exempt travel. All the types of gifts, really, that the McDonnells were taking are going to be exempt under the new ethics legislation. Virginia has a long history of letting anything go when it comes to money and politics. And even with this McDonnell scandal, I don't see Virginia, correcting that kind of behavior.
I guess we'll have to wait and see if this leads to any reforms. Appreciate your time. That was Craig Holman, a government affairs lobbyist for Public Citizen.